Hey 340, Mr. Downs here, and when I was coming back from getting my mail just now, I found my kitchen to be mysteriously dark. Even more strange was that when I flicked my light switch, I got no light whatsoever. It sounds like I have a mystery on my hands. Let's unpack that word, mystery. A mystery is defined as something that is difficult or impossible to explain or understand. I bet that all of you have encountered a mystery at some point in your life. I think most of us probably encounter mysteries all the time. Big or little, a mystery is about solving a problem. Mysteries also remind me of a book that I have here. It's called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick by Chris Van Allsburg, published by Houghton Mifflin Company in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm going to read the introduction of this story and let it speak for itself before I tell you a little bit more about this mysterious book. I first saw the drawings in this book a year ago in the home of a man named Peter Wenders. Though Mr. Wenders is retired now, he once worked for a children's book publisher, choosing stories and pictures that would be turned into books. 30 years ago, a man called at Peter Wenders' office introducing himself as Harris Burdick. Mr. Burdick explained that he had written 14 stories and had drawn many pictures for each one. He'd brought with him just one drawing from each story he'd written to see if Mr. Wenders liked his work. Peter Wenders was so fascinated by the drawings, he told Burdick he would like to read the stories that went with these drawings as soon as possible. The artist agreed to bring the stories in the next morning. He left 14 of the drawings with Peter Wenders, but did not return to the next day, or the day after that. Harris Burdick was never heard from again. Over the years, Wenders tried to find out more about who Burdick was and what happened to him, but he discovered nothing. To this day, Harris Burdick remains a complete mystery. His disappearance is not the only mystery left behind, though. What were the stories that went with each of these drawings? There are some clues. Burdick had written a title and a caption for each picture. When I told Peter Wenders how difficult it was to look at the drawings and their captions without imagining the story, he smiled and left the room. He returned with a dust-covered cardboard box. Inside were dozens of stories, all inspired by the mysterious Harris Burdick's drawings. They'd been written years ago by Wenders' children and their friends. I spent the rest of my visit reading these stories. They were remarkable. Some bizarre, some funny, and some downright scary. In the hope that other children will be inspired by them, the Burdick drawings are reproduced here for the first time. Signed, Chris Van Allsburg, Providence, Rhode Island. The Mysteries of Harris Burdick is a collection of different images with a caption and a title. Let's take a look at some of them right now. Our first picture is titled Archie Smith, Boy Wonder. A tiny voice asked, "Is he the one?" Under the rug. 2 weeks had passed, and it happened again. A strange day in July. He threw with all his might, but the third stone came skipping back. Missing in Venice. Even with her mighty engines in reverse, the ocean liner was pulled further and further into the canal. Another place, another time. If there was an answer, he'd find it there. Uninvited guests. His heart was pounding. He was sure he had seen the doorknob turn. The harp. So it's true, he thought. It's really true. Mr. Linden's library. He had warned her about the book, but now it was too late. The 7 chairs. The 5th one ended up in France. The 3rd floor bedroom. It all began when someone left the window open. just dessert. She lowered the knife, and it grew even brighter. Captain Tory. He swung his lantern 3 times, and slowly the schooner appeared. Oscar and Alphonse. She knew it was time to send them back. The caterpillar softly wiggled in her hand, spelling out the word goodbye. The house on Maple Street. It was the perfect liftoff. And that's it. 14 pictures, 14 titles, 14 captions. The joy with this book, and the most fun part about it, is that it gets you involved. This book wants you to write a story about the picture using the title and one of those captions, one of those sentences. I want to share with you an example that I wrote about one of those stories. Mine's about the 3rd floor bedroom. All I did was 3 paragraphs. It was lunchtime at the Baker house, and everyone that was in the house was gathered in the 1st floor dining room. Nothing very strange or peculiar ever happened at the Baker house, but today would be different, and it all began when someone left the window open. The strange changes started slowly. One of the drawn doves on Mary Baker's 3rd floor bedroom wallpaper started to breathe. The bird took in air, and little by little, it started to inflate, until finally, it was actual dove size. It peeled itself away from the wall and began to flutter around the room. It wasn't long after the dove started fluttering that the other 168 doves drawn on the wallpaper also started to breathe. One by one, the doves started flying around the room. The sound of many birds flying around the bedroom caused such commotion and noise that Mary Baker and her brother Roland ran back up the stairs. They threw open the door to see all the doves. Too bad for them, the doves were only the beginning of their troubles. My challenge for you is to pick one of those pictures, one of those captions, one of those titles, and write a story of your own. Can be as long as you want to. Mine was about 3 paragraphs. If you want to add to my story, you may certainly do that as well. If you'd like to, you can send me your story, and maybe in a future episode I can read some of the responses that you have written. Let's get back to that word mystery. Something that is difficult or impossible to explain or understand. Yet, I would say. Right? A mystery can be solved, which reminds me that I have a mystery that I need to solve about the darkness going on in my kitchen. There it is. Mystery solved. Turns out it was a burnt out light bulb the whole time. Good thing I have an easy fix for that. Sometimes mysteries can be complicated. And sometimes mysteries can be something as simple as changing a broken light bulb. Big or little, mysteries are a part of life, and they're things that we're going to come across. That's much better, don't you think?